welcome back to day 5 of making Princess Peach's costume from Super Smash Bros. Brawl. The other day we were able to finish the top and the sleeves, and I did start the neckline, but I'm not adding that to the dress until I have the zipper on the back of the dress and I can put it on to make sure it fits my neck. Because I would hate to do that and then have it not fit and then ruin the entire dress. So today we are going to move on from the bodice of the dress and start constructing the skirt. The first thing I'm going to do is the ruching in the front of the skirt. That is kind of almost the third layer of the skirt. The top, or the first layer, is the poofs on the side, and then there's kind of a wraparound piece that has some lace going down, and then the layer that has the ruching. So I'm going to start that because that will kind of make the basic foundation of the bottom of the dress, and then I can put everything else around that. So here we go. This is my pattern piece for the front bottom of the skirt. This is where my waistline will be, and this is the bottom of the dress. So before I started sewing this, I went through and I pinned the seam to make sure that it was straight, so that way I knew that I would have a straight across pleat. I did not want to put the dress on, have my pleats be sideways like this, because that would just totally ruin the effect. So I went through and I pinned down just to make sure it is straight. As I sew, I am keeping the foot along the edge of the fabric. I don't want to take this in too much, but I am doing this just to make sure that the pleats are straight. So now I have the first pleat stitched, and I am going to pull on the strings and make the pleats. And I do not want very tight pleats for this, so I'm going to be pulling this a lot looser than it is right now. I now have the bottom of the dress pinned on with the first pleat stitch. Keep in mind you will really... I now have the bottom of the dress pinned on with the first pleat stitch. Keep in mind you will really only see about from here to here of the first one. The dress will be opening like a V, and that's really all you're going to see of the first one. I'm going to try to even those pleats out a little bit, and then I'm going to sew back over the pleats just to make sure they stay, because right now there's just one thread holding them together, and if that thread snaps, all of the pleats will fall out. So I'm going to sew back over this to ensure that it stays together. I've pinned on just a random piece of fabric to kind of show you how the overlay will fall and what the pleats will look like up against that. Keep in mind the other side will also have that on it. Now I have both of the pleats done. I don't have them pinned on very straight, so it looks kind of silly, and I have it pinned up pretty high, but you can see the effect that it's going to have. I've now put the bodice over top of the skirt. It is not sewn on yet, but you can see the effect. And I am going to make the back of the skirt and add that on. So I ran into some problems with the bottom of the dress. I started cutting out the rest of the fabric and realized I am about half a yard too short of the fabric. That was about 8 o'clock this morning. It's now 12. And I went to Walmart to try to buy more fabric, and they were out, and I went to Joann's and Hobby Lobby, and I ran all over the place, and I can't find a matching fabric. So I will be driving to another Walmart further away from here to see if they have that in stock. So we are going to move on to the little poofs on the side. And I know it sounds a little weird, but I don't want those to be attached to the dress. I'm going to make the waistline out of elastic, so that I can sew a pocket on the dress underneath of them. And the reason for that is I'm going to be making little crowns or little stars or something to hand out to children when I get my picture taken with them. They get really excited to see their favorite character, but they get even more excited when they get free stuff. So we're going to do both of those. I just cut out 4 pieces that look like this, and this is for the poofs on the side of the dress. The reason I cut out 4 is because I'm going to sew along the curved edge and then flip it inside out so it has a nice edge. That also adds more fabric to kind of like enhance the texture and maybe like just add a little bit more fabric underneath to make the poof. And then along the top, I'm going to sew these pieces down and then put a piece of elastic through it so that it kind of stretches and everything. And then these will all pleat together with that to make the poofs. So now I am going to sew along the curved edge to finish the edges for both sides of the dress. I finished sewing my pieces together and I flipped them so that they are now right side out. So I've got both of those, one here and one here. And this is incredibly easy to do. So even if you're doing this for another costume, like if you're making a Cinderella costume, or if you just want to attach this to a pink shirt and just kind of dress up for a small party or anything, this is really, really easy to do. You just draw a half moon shape, or even if you want, you can draw a full circle, cut down the seam, and then sew them together. That's kind of what I did. I started with a full circle originally. So it's really, really easy to do, and then you can just like sew it onto a belt or a string, or sew it directly onto a shirt, and you've got your own little poofs. So now I'm going to make the waistband of this. I'm going to fold in the ugly sides, and I think I'm going to fold them in once and then fold them in twice, and then I will put the elastic through it. I'm going to measure the elastic for my waist, and I'm going to sew that to the front side and or to both sides, both points here, so that it scrunches up, and that way it doesn't move around, so I'm not walking around and then eventually I end up with both poofs on one side. I want them to stay stationary when attached to the elastic. I have the first side pinned on, and I'm very happy with how this turned out so far. So I'm going to go ahead and make the second side and pin that on, and we'll take a look then. The poofs have now been pinned on, and they are completely adjustable. I can pull on these to make them have less pleats. I could tighten it up to make them have more pleats. So that is what it looks like. Right now they're pinned on. I did sew them together in the front. And keep in mind when looking at this, everything is just pinned on and it needs to be steamed, and some things need to be pulled up. So that is how I make the poofs. So that is all for today. I hope everyone has enjoyed my progress today. We started the ruffles on the bottom of the dress and the side poofs, and hopefully soon I will have more fabric so I can finish the back of the dress and start the overlay. And after I do that, I just have some lace that needs to be sewn on, and the dark pink band around the bottom, and then the accessories, and that's it. Please don't forget to like and subscribe to my video. Also, if you find me on Facebook, you will see many more pictures and more content on all of my costumes.